In order for the Minnesota Vikings to get the bad taste that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost out of their mouths, they need to win tonight in Philadelphia. And here's a player that we are watching in this game who we think could have a big impact. And that player is, of course, rookie wide receiver, first round pick, Jordan Addison.
Addison.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Jamie's guy. We were super pumped. He caught the nice touchdown from Kirk in the game against the Buccaneers for a touchdown. Great throw, great way for him to get open. Nice catch, secured the ball, unlike KJ, and he scored the touchdown, which was super nice to see. But we think he could have a huge impact in this game.
Yeah, and why? Why do we think he's going to have an impact? Actually, we'll start with the injury report here. So the big one in this is one of their number one corner or one of their top cornerbacks. I think he'd be considered number 2 behind what's his name?
Slay.
Darius Slay, who did have good coverage against Justin Jefferson, which brings us to James Bradbury, the cornerback number 2, who's also a really good cornerback, probably could be a cornerback 1 on a bunch of other teams. We know Jordan Addison is probably wide receiver 2 now, or at the very least, he's going to be on the field as much as KJ Osborne. We know Slay is going to be shadowing Justin Jefferson the same way he did last season. And I do think it's going to leave a lot open. And of course, you have TJ Hawkinson still there as well. So we think it's going to leave a lot open for Jordan Addison. And that is the reason why we do think Jordan Addison is going to be the sneaky play. But also, even more than that, bring up the next list here. Because we have, so last week against the Eagles, a lot of people might know this, and I'm sure they do, is that the Eagles got a close game against the New England Patriots team that wasn't that good. And one of the reasons why is because they let Mac Jones. How many yards? 350 yards, about
316 is what they have on
316 yards. They let Mac Jones get, and their number 1 wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster had 4 receptions for 33 yards. But then, how did their second wide receiver do in Kendrick Bourne? 6 receptions, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kendrick Bourne was a key player in this game, and it's something that needs to be talked about. And Jordan Addison is in that situation. Other than that, he has Justin Jefferson on the side of him, the best wide receiver in the league, not, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's honestly probably, he's not even a true wide receiver 1. And we also have TJ Hawkinson compared to Hunter Henry. So if we go in this game and that's one thing that I think is important, is hopefully KOC realizes that Jordan Addison is going to be the wide receiver 2, and we don't do this little Justin Jefferson thing in Zimmer when he was a rookie, where we wait so long to let Justin Jefferson be that guy. And I think in this situation, we are going to let Jordan Addison step in that role. And I think we're going to see a ton of him that week or tonight. What's your last thoughts on Jordan Addison? Because there's, of course, tons of other things to worry about in this game other than just Jordan Addison. But I do think as far as a sneaky player goes, I think he could definitely be it.
Yeah, and he, maybe not even sneaky might not even be the right word, because obviously it does, if you really think about it, it does seem pretty obvious, because last year in that game, I think the reason the offense was held down so much, there's another reason, we'll get to that in a second here. I think the main reason was there's no number 2 option behind JJ could get open, and JJ was being covered by Slay. Slay did a great job on him that game, got into his head, frustrated him a little bit, and just nobody else could get open to give Kirk a place to throw the football, because we obviously didn't have TJ Hawkins at that time either. But so I think Jordan Addison, man, we saw what he can do in preseason, and he proved it week 1 that he can do it. So I think we're going to see, I think we're going to see a huge game from him again, because he doesn't have that number 2 corner that he's going against in Bradbury. So they're going to, I think this is one of those things where this team the Eagles are going to have to watch out, man, because it could get ugly, and it could get ugly fast, especially if they allow Jordan Addison to start getting open.
And we saw what the Patriots were able to do. Exactly. We already showed how Kendrick Bourne looked. And and everyone who's watching this right now, also stay to the end to find out our score predictions for this game. But I mean, Philadelphia Eagles didn't come out the way everybody thought they would. They still ended up with the W. There's actually people who have the Vikings winning this game, which was a big surprise to me, maybe outside of our fans, because this is probably what a lot of people looked at. Other than maybe Kansas City, we have a hard schedule. We have Kansas City, we have San Francisco. Those are probably the 3 hardest teams going into the season. Of course, we have to play all 3 of them. But Philadelphia, after what happened last season, it was obvious we did not want to have that happen again. And we talked about the matchup with Justin Jefferson and Darius Slay last year. We can also expect JJ to come in here extremely motivated. Same thing when we go with the Packers against Jair Alexander. because of all the shit talk that happened there and him getting locked down, and JJ's actually been talking about it this week as well. So I think Slay's going to have more than his hands full. And again, Jordan Addison is going to be there, and hopefully getting open. And you made a fantastic point by comparing what our wide receivers and our tight ends and other pass catchers outside of Justin Jefferson look like last year. And it was an important reason to actually go out and get another wide receiver in this draft, even if there was other positions to worry about.
And actually going back to the tight end thing, I mean, we had a big play right down the field in the hands of our tight end at the time, Irv Smith Jr. Couldn't complete the play. That would have been a huge turning point in this game. TJ Hawkinson makes that catch. That's a touchdown. And the whole complexion of that game can change. But obviously, we're talking a lot here about having to get the ball to our receivers, right? But in order to do that, Kirk Cousins needs something that he didn't find all the time in the game against the Buccaneers, and that's time. Time to get rid of the football. Sure, he had the one strip sack where he held on a little bit too long. But if you go back to the injury report here, this is where it get a little bit dicey, right? Because obviously Garrett Bradbury, love him or hate him, he's a veteran. But he is out with the lower back injury that was aggravated. And Christian Darrisaw at this point is questionable. We're really hoping he plays. On the other side of this injury report, you see Fletcher Cox is questionable as well. From what I understand, it sounds like they're going to at least try to give him a run, see if he can stay in there. But man, Darrisaw needs to play this game, because if you're short Bradbury and Darrisaw, man, Kirk Cousins is not. I just don't know how we're gonna have enough time to keep him clean so he can distribute the football, and that's gonna be a big thing in this game. I mean, Schlottman. I mean, the thing with Schlottman is he may be on par, and some people think even a better center than Bradbury, but he doesn't have the reps, right? And Ed Ingram had a rough week last week. Obviously, allowed a couple of sacks, knocked the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands. So that's going to be the big thing. And Jalen Carter, the rookie phenom, everybody. If he didn't have off-field issues, would have been a top 3 selection in this last year's draft. Slid a little bit, but he had a sack last week. He's looking legit. This Eagles defense is dangerous. Now, you got to remember they are going under a scheme change. Same thing as the offense, actually, since both of their coordinators from last year went on to head coaching jobs. But Kevin O'Connell, you need to call a good game here, right? If your offensive line, if you don't feel like your offensive line stands a chance against the defensive line, which obviously you never want to admit that. But just going back to last week, too many drops, too much time with Kirk Cousins just sitting back there, 5-7 step drop sitting in the pocket. You got to get the ball out quicker. And what's that going to do? It's going to bring the defense up. It's going to allow you to get some plays down the field. So I think protection needs to be better, and Kevin O'Connell needs to call a clean, creative football game this time around. No more stupid tight end screens in crunch time. And don't forget about Justin Jefferson. He's still on the team. You got to use him. And with that injury report, it's going to be a little tougher with the offensive line dinged up as it is, but I still think we can do it. I still think we have a shot.
Yeah, I definitely do. I do think you make a good point on Darrisaw, though. I mean, if he misses the game, that is such a hit. I can't even explain how big of a deal him missing this game would really be, because we need, I mean, with how our interior offensive line has been playing, we do need those. We got those studs on the edge, and we need them there. So if that does happen, I'm hoping it's not. There's not really any report saying like it's likely or anything like that. So hopefully we do see him in there. Obviously, it is a big hit with Garrett Bradbury. The most obvious battle we need to win is in the trenches. And that is going to be specifically, there's a couple of them, of course, but specifically on offense, again, I don't have to go down this whole thing again. You just said it all there. So that's a really obvious one. And on the other side, so one thing that's a weakness for them is they don't seem like they figured out their running back position. So I think it might be Miles Sanders might have been a bigger, what's that?
And Gainwell's out.
Yeah, and Gainwell's out, who was their number 1 running back last week, which was weird because we didn't see much DeAndre Swift. Maybe the Eagles change that up. I don't know. DeAndre Swift's whole career makes zero sense to me, but there's obviously something there. So I'm hoping we don't see more DeAndre Swift, because the Eagles had a PFF grade of 36 in the run game. So that means we might not have to worry so much about our defensive line holding up against the run this way, which gives us more time for another big matchup. And that's again our secondary versus their wide receivers in Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and of course their quarterback, that is Jalen Hurts, another athletic running type of quarterback that we've had terrible just been terrible against, which brings me to another player in another rookie in Ivan Pace Jr., a guy full of speed who can run sideline to sideline. He's been able to show us that last game, and we need a guy who can keep eyes on Jalen Hurts in this game and make sure he doesn't get off and he's not the one running too much. So I think he's going to be an important part to this game as well. But yeah, again, going back to the wide receivers in our secondary, if we don't have to worry about the run too much, and hopefully that is the case, it's just putting pressure on Jalen Hurts, watching him run, and then try our best to keep AJ Brown and Devontae Smith in check. And surprisingly, that is something we did pretty well last week against Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's some of the things we're watching for in this game. Vikings need to win this one, man. I really hope they can. Score predictions. What do you got?
I'm gonna be. Are you going to be optimistic or are you going to be pessimistic?
I'm going to be optimistic in this one, I think.
Optimistic this point?
I have to be because they need to be.
I'm always optimistic. It is hard for me, man. All right, I'm going to be optimistic because I do think going into this game, I saw enough from our defense last week. I mean, it was literally, we're talent-wise, we're a top 5 offense in the NFL here. And it was really our offense that shot ourselves in the foot. Our defense allowed less than 200 yards that entire game. So they were actually a bit more surprising than any of us was expecting out of them. And if they can play that same type of way, but this time we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, we don't have 3 turnovers, and our offense plays the way they are supposed to be, we might be able to take out the W here. But I'm going to say if that does happen, I'm going to say it's going to be really close. I'm going to say 28-24 Vikings on this one.
Okay. So, originally going into the season, we both had this pegged as a loss.
We kind of need it. We feel like
had we beaten the Buccaneers, I'd have pegged it as a loss as well. I'd have said the team would have been a little bit too up here on a short week, having to travel. It'd have been kind of a tank, and then they'd have came home against the Chargers and won. But I think since they lost week 1, I think they're going to be a little extra motivated. I think Kevin O'Connell will learn from his mistakes. I think this offense is going to show us what we can really do. I think they're going to be a little more creative. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to let it loose. I think the Vikings win this game. I'm going to say 24-21 off the leg of a Greg Joseph field goal because I'm going to call it every week till it happens. I'm kidding. But anyway, so I think that's what's going to happen. We want to know your guys' score predictions in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys next time right here on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.